Hey folks, last night was the top 12 on Season 2 of The X Factor, or make that the top 13. Diamond White was resurrected from oblivion to join the top 12, and for the life of me I can't understand why. Don't get me wrong, I like Diamond just fine, and I thought she outperformed Arin Ray in last week's sing-off, but to be completely honest, I had almost forgotten about her already. It was really sweet to bring her back and give her a second chance, but it was hardly a Melanie Amaro type moment. Now, last season, Melanie Amaro was brought back from oblivion, and she went on to win, but I can promise you here and now, Diamond White will not suffer the same fate this season. Anyway, this week's theme was songs from the movies, a pretty wide-open theme, but it made a hell of a lot more sense than last week's theme. First of the night was Arin Ray. It was at this point last season that Arin was eliminated as 1/10 of intensity, and he doesn't want to get cut this season because he lives in a bad neighborhood where people get shot. Well, that seemed a little bit like begging to me. Vote for me or I might get killed. Anyway, he performed American Boy, and it was an improvement over last week, but I'm not convinced that it was enough. The dancing was fine, the rapping was fine, even the singing was okay. If he were a really popular contestant, it would have been enough to get him through to next week. I just don't think he's that popular. And this was hardly a breakout performance, and first of the night is a pretty tough spot to be in. LA thinks that he's a different person from last year. Demi was speechless, but then she wouldn't shut up. She thinks he looks like a star. Simon said that he's turning into a little pop star. How very Louis Walsh of him. Next up is Paige Thomas. Paige doesn't want to go home and tell her daughter that she didn't win the competition, but I don't think her daughter is old enough to comprehend or even really care. Anyway, she's saying, "Take my breath away." I hope her daughter wasn't watching because it was kind of inappropriate for children. And she might end up having another child if she doesn't knock it off with a male dancer. Paige descended onto the stage in a long, flowing white dress. It would have been mesmerizing if the dress hadn't blown over top of her head. All we could see was her panties. And then when she got down to the stage, a guy came up behind her and started kissing her on the neck and putting his hands down over her inappropriate region. Once again, a big visual spectacle was put together for Paige to distract us from the fact that she isn't a very good singer. Well, she sounded better than she did last week. It would have been kind of hard not to, though. LA thought it was good, but he wasn't blown away. Brittany thought the beginning was the best part. Simon thought it should have been turned into a dance track at the end. I'm not sure why he thought that. Next up was Vino Alon. Vino wanted to join the military, but they wouldn't take him because of his tattoos. He acts like those tattoos are so troublesome to him, then why did he get them? So now he just sings for the troops instead. Well, that should win him some points right there. If you don't vote for Vino, then you must hate America. You're a communist. He sang When a Man Loves a Woman. It was great. A huge improvement over last week. I wasn't crazy about the song choice. It's one of those songs that's been covered 100,000 trillion million times. I sound like Randy Jackson now. But a lot of people eat that song up, so I think Vino's back in the game. He's back to being a real contender as long as Reid doesn't try to turn him into a rock singer again. I think Vino is his best hope for a win. All of the judges loved it, but Demi has a hard time seeing him as a pop star. I kind of see what she's saying about that. Simon thinks he went from zero to hero, and he compared Vino to Susan Boyle. Well, that would kind of hurt my feelings if I was Vino, because when somebody tells you that you can be successful like Susan Boyle was successful, what they're basically trying to say is that you're very talented, but you are the least bit attractive. Next up is Emblem 3. They said that they need to win because their mom lost her job and got an eviction notice. Now they have nowhere to go. Here's an idea. Go get a job. Forgive me for not caring about these woe is me stories, but I don't think they're in any danger of being street beggars anytime soon. Didn't y'all love how Simon introduced them as no gimmicks? But their song alone was kind of a gimmick, wasn't it? My Girl, California Girls, What Makes You Beautiful, a mashup? Mashups are pretty gimmicky, I think. I thought this performance was just okay, a little bit corny. The one guy that started out the song has a vibrato that would make a billy goat blush. And for a boy band that doesn't want to be a boy band, this was very boy bandish. Not terrible, but it didn't live up to the praise that was heaped on them by the judges. LA wanted to be critical, but he thinks they're perfect. Brittany thought they made the song their own, all three of them, I guess. Demi thought they were great, but she thought it was wrong of Simon to plug One Direction into the song, and I agree with her. Next up was Beatrice Miller, who lives with her two moms. Yay for lesbians! Beatrice acts like her home life is tough because both of her moms are unemployed, but you kind of got to take her woe is me story with a grain of salt since she's always so negative. She always makes things sound worse than they really are. I doubt the family is really on the brink of poverty, man. I mean, a quick Google search tells me that Beatrice has been in a bunch of movies and TV shows. Well, she's not a millionaire, but I'm sure she could afford to support the family for a little while, even without the $5 million X Factor prize. Anyway, her song this week was Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, and she was having trouble during rehearsal because her throat was dry, but I kind of get the sense that she was just making excuses because she was struggling with the song. I really like her voice, but I think this was a bad song choice for her. I wanted to like it, but there were only a few parts that I thought sounded okay, and once again, there is just too much going on in the style department. LA said that the tone of her voice sounds like a hit record, and I agree with that, but not on this song. Next up is Jennel Garcia, another rock song for Jennel this week, which I think is totally the right direction for her, but not with this song. I Love Rock and Roll is a terrible song that nobody cares about, and even worse, it's not a singer's song, it's a shouter's song. So it did nothing for Jennel, it did nothing to show off her voice, and she's a very good singer. She could have done a good singer's rock song. She did the best she could do with this song, but the best ain't good enough. She needs a rock song with more substance. LA said that it was a Joan Jett parody. Britney said, I have one word for your performance. Hot, hot, hot. LA tried to correct Britney by saying it was actually 3 words. No, LA, it was actually 1 word 3 times. Simon once again took the opportunity to knock the makeover. I think Jennel is actually the one makeover that Demi got right. She got the other 2 horribly wrong, but she got Jennel's makeover right. It's just a song that I didn't like. Next up was Tate Stevens singing Dead or Alive. Well, it was more showy than his last performance. He had flames behind him, and he sounded great, but I was bored to tears. Even though it's a rock song, it's still pretty slow. It didn't give Tate to prove himself a dynamic performer, and I want to know if he can do a real foot-stomping country song. He might not survive long enough for us to find out, though. I hear a lot of people saying that he's going to ride the country vote. He's going to go pretty far because he's a country singer, but I don't know if there is a country vote on the X Factor. Britney called him a slice of America. Demi thinks he looks like a pop star. Not really. Simon likes giving guys like Tate a break. Next up, it's Lyric 145 with Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from Mary Poppins. Well, this was the most unique song choice of the night, that's for sure. It looked more like Alice in Wonderland, though, than Mary Poppins, but I loved it. It was much better than the crap that they put out there last week. As a song, I wouldn't pay money to listen to it, but it was a fun performance to watch, especially when Lyric the Queen got down in L.A. Reid's face. L.A. hated it, but he thought it was really good. Britney and Demi loved it, and Simon said it was bloody fantastic. Next up was the resurrection of Diamond White. We got to see a clip of Diamond in what she thought was going to be her final interview when she got the call from Britney that she was back on the show. So now Diamond needed to prove that they made the right decision bringing her back, but I wasn't convinced. She sang I Have Nothing, a tired old song choice, and it was a little bit too big for her. I hated what she was wearing. She looked like a boy in that white suit. Good for her for getting a second chance. Arin should have been the one that got the axe last week, but nothing about this performance showed me that she stands a chance at even coming close to winning. LA said she brought it home, and Demi was trying really hard not to pretend to cry. Next up is CeCe Frey, or Frey as Demi calls her. When your mentor doesn't even know how to say your own name, you got problems. This week CeCe's song was Eye of the Tiger. Maybe she should have wore tiger stripes on her face as opposed to those cheetah spots. The cheetah spots have returned, and they look more ridiculous than ever. It looks like her face is rotting off. CeCe was so much prettier when she was doing her own hair and makeup. Now, she looks just plain stupid. But she actually looks better than she sounds. This performance was a disaster and a half. L.A. Reid said it didn't blow him away. Britney thought she brought fire, and there was fire on stage, so I guess she literally did, but she sounded like she was on fire. Simon was totally right. Demi has ruined whatever potential CeCe had in the first place, which wasn't much, but at least she had a little bit. She has no potential now. Next up is Carly Rose Sonenclare. She said she had been singing since she was 2, so I guess that means for a few months now. Last week, Britney tried to turn Carly into something she's not, and it was a mess. This week, Carly got to do her own thing, and she has returned to being flawless. She sang It Will Rain. It was great. Easily the best of the night. I thought the only problem was that sometimes when she said rain, it sounded like she was saying Wayne, but it wasn't too much of a problem. L.A. loved it. Demi said that she would watch it over and over again, and Simon said we are watching a star in the making. Next up, it's Mr. Entertainment, Jason Brock. When he was a kid, his dad wanted him to play football and do boy things. Word of advice, fathers of the world, we gay men are not ever going to turn straight just by watching football. L.A. said that he picked a song that will allow Jason to show off his stuff. His stuff? Look, I'm about as gay as they come, but I have no interest in seeing Jason Brock's stuff. The song choice was I Believe I Can Fly. Really corny song, but at least it allowed him to sing unlike his terrible song last week, and he sang it just fine. But now the fun's been sucked out of his performance. I wanted a big show from Jason, not candles on the screen in the background. What's entertaining about that? Britney and Demi thought it was like a Vegas lounge act, but we always kind of knew that's what Jason was going to be like anyway, didn't we? Simon said he looks like a singer in an Italian restaurant. And the last of the night was the girl group, Lilas, 1432. Now, their new name is Fifth Harmony. I guess America is not any better at picking a name for them than they are at picking names for themselves. They sang 1,000 Years. It was really quite good. The best we've seen of them yet. I still don't think it works out for them in the long run, though. L.A. doesn't like the name, but he liked the performance. Britney thought they shined. Demi wasn't crazy about the arrangement, but she loved their vocals. So going home, I think it should be CeCe, but it could be anybody, I think, except Vino, Carly, and all of the groups. All of the groups are going to be safe. So anyway, leave me a comment and let me know what you thought about the show. Subscribe to me on YouTube, and I'll see you folks next time.